Hello, Anna at the sewing studio here, and today I have the wonderful Brother F560 sewing machine to demonstrate to you. I'm going to talk you through all its features and functions, show you everything that comes in the box with the machine, show you how to thread it, go through some sewing, show you its capabilities, and then talk a bit about warranty and support. Now we've sectioned all of those out, so if there's a particular area you're interested in, feel free just to head on over to that section. So the Brother F560 sewing machine is part of Brother's mid-range of machines, and it's slightly bigger than standard size, so you've got 7 inches of space to the right of the needle. There's a whopping 241 stitch options, and these are listed under the lid there for you. You'll find lots of different types of stitches, utility stitches, satin stitches, blanket stitches, buttonholes, 10 different styles of buttonholes, decorative stitches, alphabets, so it's got some different styles of alphabets, both uppercase and lowercase. And these are all easily selected via the touchpad here. And also from here you can change the width and the length of the stitch, and the maximum stitch width is 7mm and the maximum length is 5mm. It also has a mirror stitch option, so the directional stitches, you can turn them around so they sew out in the opposite direction. And it has multi-directional stitching, so yes, you can sew back and forth, but you can also sew left to right, and I'll show you that when we get to the sewing section. Now, if all those stitches and options weren't enough, it also comes with My Custom Stitch, where you can create your own. It's a computerized machine, so yes, it comes with a foot pedal. You don't have to use the foot pedal to operate it because it also has a start-stop button. That also means it has a speed control slider, so you can limit your speed, go full speed, whichever you prefer. You can tailor it to your projects to make sure you're getting the best results. Now, no machine is complete without a reversing function, and that's this button here, and it's also got a reinforcement stitch button. You've got needle up, needle down, and that can be programmed for the needle to stay in when you finish sewing or come up, whichever you prefer. And it has the magic scissor button, so it'll automatically cut your threads, but it also has a manual cutter on the side here for if you're using quite thick threads. Talking about automatic features, it also has automatic tension on here and an automatic needle threader. Now, these are one of the easiest on the market, and again, I will show you how that works during the sewing section. The presser foot has an extra high lift, so you can get your bulky items in underneath. You can adjust the pressure that's applied to that presser foot, so if you're sewing something quite delicate, sometimes it can get chewed up in the teeth of the feed dogs, so you can slacken off that pressure so that it sews through consistently. Also comes with a knee lift that plugs in the front here, so you can raise and lower your presser foot with your knee. Really handy for turning corners, doing a plique, chain piecing and things like that. Now, talking about the feed teeth, they're here obviously to feed the fabric. There's 7 pieces on this machine and they work in a square system. I won't bore you with the details, but basically you have great control on the fabric when you're sewing. Those can also be dropped. There's a little slider on the back here to do any sort of darning or free motion work. Excuse me. The bobbin is a simple drop-in bobbin system, and it has the quick set, so you can lay the thread in there and there's no need to draw up the bobbin thread. You can just start sewing, although you can still draw up the bobbin thread if you want. If I pop this off, you've then got your free arm here for sewing hems, cuffs, things like that. And if I pop that back on, in the front here, whoops, there is storage for all the feet and accessories that come with the machine, and this handy little tray that organises them all for you. Well, the feet anyway. So what does it come with? So first off, you'll find the zigzag foot that will already be on the machine, a zip or a piping foot, a blind hem foot, one for overcasting, a monogramming foot, one for sewing on buttons, and then your one-step buttonhole foot. And a range of accessories, as well as a little pouch to pop them in. And you also have your foot control, the power lead, which I've already got plugged into the machine, the knee lift, a quick reference guide to get you started, and then a full operation manual, and also some grid sheets which are for use with My Custom Stitch for creating your own. And then lastly, it comes with a hard cover. Whoops, just put that on there, make a bit of noise. So this machine weighs just over 9 kilos, so not the lightest, but still doable to transport it around if you want to. And then this helps to keep it protected and also keep the dust off while you've got it at home. So let's get sat round the other side. I'll show you how to thread the machine and we'll go through some of its functions and its capabilities. So to thread the machine, you just want to pop the lid up and then put your spool of cotton on the spool pin, and then a spool cap. There's different size caps that come with it depending on the size of reel that you're using. And I'm just going to take some thread, and then everything is numbered for you. So everything with a number and the dotted line is to wind your bobbin. I don't need to wind one because I've got one here, but it is very easy to do. And then everything with the solid line is for your needle. So I'm just going to go in number 1, around number 2, down number 3 and up. Now I can see that I can't quite see the take-up lever here, so I'm just going to drop the needle down and back up again, and now you can't see it, but I can now see it's there in the right position. So I'm just going to go back and forth so it goes in the front of there. Down again, number 5. Number 6 is just in the top of the needle there. 1 second. Just in there. And then number 7 is the whizzy super needle threader that I was talking about. So you just pop the thread, there's a little gap there that you just pop it in, and then under number 7, and there was a little click. You probably can't hear that, but there was a little click then. I'm just going to cut the excess off, and then with this lever on the side, you just basically pull it down and up. So just like that. And then, hey presto, the thread is through the eye of the needle for you to pull through. Really, really simple to do. So to thread the bobbin, just move the slider to the right and the cover pops up. You can take that out. And then you need the tail of thread to the left. That's very important. Drop that in, and then there's arrows here again that guide you. So I usually pop my finger on it so you're threading under a bit of tension, and pull the thread around that arrow, in, around, and there's a little cutter there that you can cut the thread off. Pop the cover back on, and then you're ready to sew. When you first switch the machine on, it will default to this screen here, which is the main utility stitch folder. So all the stitches are separated out into folders. You might not be able to quite see that, but it is very clear, and each folder has a symbol. So to select between them, you bring up your different folders here. So if I want to do a buttonhole, for instance, I know that it's the buttonhole symbol there and number 4. So I press that one, and then you've got all your different stitch options here for you to choose from. And you would just very simply press that stitch, and then that buttonhole is selected. So to get back to the main screen, yes, I want to cancel that one. I just go to that one, and this is stitch number 1, which is a standard straight stitch with the needle in the left position. If you wanted it in the centre, you can just very simply select stitch number 3, and then your needle is in the centre. So I've got a couple of pieces of cotton here, and we'll just sew out a straight stitch. And I'm not using the foot pedal. I'm just going to sort this thread out a minute because that's a bit curly. I'm not using the foot pedal. I'm going to use the start-stop button, and I'll show you the different speed settings. So I'm on the slowest speed to start with. So I'm just going to press, you can see this has gone green. Press the start button. So that's coming forward, and then reverse. I just keep my finger on it for as far back as I want to go. It'll stop, and then I can come forward again. So as I say, that's the slow speed, which is quite manageable, up to midway, and then high. And the top speed there on this machine is 850 stitches per minute. Just going to secure those. And then you want to use your scissors. That'll lift the needle. A little cutter shoots out from the side underneath here. nicks off the threads, and you can just lift the presser foot and take your work out. And that's the nice neat straight stitch on the top and underneath. So to do a zigzag, I can see in the utility folder that zigzag is stitch number 9. So I'm just going to scroll along. You don't have to look at these, you can just scroll through the screen and you can see them on here. So I'm just going to go for this zigzag. And because it's computerized, it will default the width and the length for you, but you can change them if you want to. So let's just do a standard zigzag. Just secure that. Okay, so I'm just going to lift the needle out before I change the width and the length. So to alter those, these are all detailed along the top here, and you just want to press that symbol, and then you get your plus and your minus. So you've got your width, your length, left and right shift, that's to move your needle position if you were sewing a zip or doing piping, and then tension, should you need to adjust it. It does have automatic tension, as I said, so you shouldn't need to be touching that too often. So if we now go and do a wider stitch width, and let's go down to 1/2 mil length and stitch that out. That's going to stitch it wider but closer together. And then let's do the opposite. So let's go for a narrower width, not that narrow, and a longer length. To get maximum, see what that looks like. I'll just secure those. Cut the threads, take the work out, and there's your different zigzags that you can achieve by altering the width and the length. So this is your standard, and then this is having a wider stitch with a shorter stitch length, and then that's really good for applique and things like that. And then this is having a narrower width and a longer length in there. Now I also spoke to you about multi-directional, so let's take a look at those a minute. And they are in folder number 5. So I'm going to go back to my folders. Yes, I don't want that pattern anymore. And you can see you've got stitches and arrows in both directions, left and right. So I'm going to press that one, and we'll sew a straight stitch box. And this is really good for if you were sewing a patch on a sleeve, for instance. So you could pop your sleeve up through here, and you can do the complete square without having to move the material. It's much easier to do. So I'll show you a minute. So let's drop the presser foot down. I'm going to go a bit slower because I want to match up my ends. So let's come down this way first. You can see I've got the straight stitch. You can do a zigzag as well. You've got the other directions on the second page, but I'm going to do a straight stitch. So let's go down first and stop about there. And then I want to go to the left. So that's this one here. Doesn't that feel weird? And you just want to keep the fabric straight. So stop there. So then I want to go back up the left side. And this is where it's a good idea just to put a couple of lines so you can see where you're starting and stopping. I'll try there. So then I want to complete the box by coming back towards the right. And then I'm going to use this reinforcement button to secure those stitches. So every time you press this, it's just going to sew one stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. That's probably enough to secure that. And they're done on the spot. It just saves the messiness sometimes of using the reverse. And there's your box. And you can see what I was saying because I started there and didn't do one stitch enough to come back this way. So it is a good idea just to have a line across there, drawn on there and along there. And that helps to keep you on the straight and narrow if you like. But that's the box there. and then it's equally as neat, get rid of that thread, underneath. So a really handy feature. Right, let's pop this back on. Now this reinforcement button has a second function as well, and that is a pattern end. So if you're sewing out one of the more decorative stitches, you can press this button and it will complete a whole pattern before you stop sewing. And that's really good when you kind of get into your corners and things and stuff, rather than guessing and having half a pattern. So I'll show you what I mean. So we'll go to the decorative stitch. Let's go to number 6, and then I'm just going to look up here. Let's go to number 39. So you can see we're in folder 6 and it's number 39, and this is a row of bees. It's quite cute. So I'm just going to select that one and start sewing. And you can see that time when I pressed the reinforcement button, it didn't do a stitch on the spot. Instead, the light came on, and what I'm telling the machine is, once you've finished the pattern you're on, please stop. And that's exactly what it did. And then you can see you've got 2 complete bees. And it just saves when you get into the edge, or, you know, going along the top of a pocket or something like that, kind of finishing a bee off here and looking a bit bodiless, really, I suppose. And then because it's got the multi-directional, you can sew out wide stitch patterns that are programmed in the machine. So they are in folder 7. So let's go back to folder 7. And let's do this scroll one, that's quite nice. So this is going to say back and forth and left and right. Drop the press foot down. Now I only did one of them because I could see I was going to run out of room, but you can see how they're wider than the maximum stitch width of 7mm, and some of these patterns go up to 40mm. They're really quite wide, and it's just nice for quilting and decorative effects, all sorts of different things really. So let's quickly take a look at the fonts on these and how you program them in. So again, I'm going to go back to the folders, and you can see you've got one with A, B, C on there. So in here you can choose your different type of font. I'm just going to go for a standard one. And then you start typing what you want to write. So I'm going to go B for brother. If you scroll down, that's where you can get your lowercase. So R-O-T-H-E-R. If you needed numbers or any other symbols, they're in this next folder here. You can scroll through those. And if you needed this font with accents, you can scroll through to that tab and achieve those there. But otherwise, we've got the word brother. So I'll show you what they stitch out like. Actually, you should really use the monogramming foot for these. And this has a groove cut out on the bottom, so it helps to deal with the density of the stitches, if you like. Now these just snap on and off, so I'm just going to push that lever to take that one off. And then you line this bar up with the gap in the bottom of the ankle there, drop the presser foot down, and it snaps on like that. So I'm just going to pop the thread underneath, and let's stitch out the word brother. Let's do it in the box, shall we? So as you can see, the word was bigger than my box, but you get the idea. And each letter is reinforced with the reinforcement stitch. So if you wanted to snip off these joining stitches, you can, and nothing is going to unravel. Right, let's move on to some different types of fabric now. So I've got some jersey, so I'm going to pop a jersey needle on, Let's take this foot off, put that back in its little storage section and put the standard foot back on. And I'm just going to find my screwdriver somewhere. There it is. I'm going to loosen this needle, pull that out, and then pop the jersey needle in. And this machine takes standard needles with the flat back. You just find the hole, so I'll do that a bit more. Pop it up in as far as it will go. Do the screw up by hand, and I tend to just do 1/4 turn with the screwdriver just to be sure. Don't over tighten it, but enough that it's not going to come out. So I only raise the presser foot to give myself a bit more room. So again, for the needle threader, you're going up in that gap, under number 7, cut the excess off, down and up, and there's your loop through. Oops. So I'm going to pop that underneath. So the jersey material I have is a t-shirt material. This is an old t-shirt that I've cut up. So let's go to the utility stitches and find, let's try the triple stretch stitch and see how that performs on this fabric. If I do the reverse on this, because it's a triple stitch, it's doing a reinforcement. So I'm just going to do 3 on the spot and off I go. Let's go a bit faster. Again, 1, 2, 3. I'll cut that off. And that's done a really nice job of that. There's no waviness in the stitch. You can still stretch the fabric with it, and on the seam as well. And that's really secure. So in terms of thickness of fabric, let's take a look at some denim. So I'm going to pop a jeans needle in. Let's take this one out a minute. Put that one there. Again, flat bit to the back, up as far as it will go, tighten the screw, 1/4 turn, and you're done. Needle threader in through there, under there, pop that down, do that, and there you go. It's as simple as that. So I've got some denim here that we sell in the shop. So I'm just going to pop that under. So we don't need a stretch stitch because this doesn't have any stretch in it. So I'm going to go back to the standard straight stitch. But because this is thicker than the cotton that we were using, I'm going to increase the stitch length just slightly. So I'm going to take it up to 3mm. Just secure those. And that's sewn through that really neatly on the underneath as well. And the seam is nice and secure. And this is quite a thin denim, so let's fold that over. And this is more like 2 layers of kind of a standard weight denim. I'm not going to change anything else on the machine. And again, that's gone through that with no problem at all. There's no skip stitches on there. Everything's gone through. That's the line there for the second one, is it? Yes. Still nice and neat and still secure. So let's fold it over once more. So we're going through 8 layers now. And because this is thicker, I'm going to increase the stitch length again, only by 1/2 mil. But I'm going to adjust the pressure that's on the presser foot, and that's because I know when we start sewing, this is going to start to pull and pucker up like this because of the amount of pressure that's on it and because there's so many layers. So to do that, you go into the settings, scroll through the pages, and then you can see you've got press a foot pressure. So at the moment it's on number 3. So I'm just going to reduce that down to 2. And off we go. Secure those. And again, that's lovely and neat, nothing skipped, or on the underneath, that's this row this time. And it's still lovely and secure. Now that's all very well, isn't it? But what happens when you get to, so you've done your seam of your jeans, and then you want to sew your hem across the bottom, and that really gets quite bulky. So let's double that over a bit and try and mimic that. So what you would want to do is make a start sewing. I'm just going to slow it down a little bit. And you can see at this point now, the foot is on an angle as if it's going up a ramp. And what happens is, as it goes up like that, because this part, as you're going further and further up, if I go a little bit further, it just goes up and up, and it isn't actually clamping the fabric, so it's not really under control, and then you get slip stitches and all sorts of different things. Now this presser foot button here is called a self leveler. So what you want to do is raise the presser foot, push that button in and lower it down again, and can you see now how the foot is sitting level? So it's going to come consistently across the top there. And not only has it sewn through it really well, there's no skip stitches, nothing to be worrying about there on the top or the bottom. Now one thing I forgot to show you in the other section was the one-step buttonhole, so we'll do that now. So if I take this foot off, actually let's take the denim needle out. And pop the standard one back in. Boom, 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 done. And then the one-step buttonhole foot is this one here. So what you're going to do is push the piece at the back backwards, and then pop your button in and clamp it down. And that's what determines the size of the buttonhole here. And it'll always sew a buttonhole a couple of millimeters bigger than the button, so that it can quite easily get through the buttonhole. So I'm just going to snap that on, and then there's a little sensor here that you need to bring down, and that needs to come down and sit just behind that piece of plastic on the foot there. And then what happens is when it's sewing, the guide hits that and it knows when to stop and come forward again to do the right size buttonhole. Now I like to put this thread underneath the foot just because it gives a neater result. And the easiest way to do that is to drop your needle in a piece of fabric, drop it up again, and then just pull it through. And then it's underneath the foot. Okay, so let's find the right stitch. So we go to the folders, yes, buttonholes. I'm just using some cotton, so we'll just do a standard buttonhole. And it's going to sew it in that direction, so it might be worth just putting a little mark there where you want it to start. And then there is a viewing window on the front of the foot there that you can line that mark up with. Drop the presser foot down, and off we go. And that's all secured for you. There's nothing else you need to do except to cut the threads and lift the foot. And there's your nice neat buttonhole. That's on the top obviously, and that's underneath. And even if you were using the foot pedal, it's that simple. When you want to start, you just put your foot on the foot pedal and you just keep your foot on the foot pedal until the buttonhole stops. This machine comes with 3-year manufacturer warranty, and in the box there'll be this card which explains it all to you and how to register your machine with Brother. And don't forget, we're here at the Sewing Studio for any help or advice that you might need. So I hope I've been able to demonstrate to you just how good the Brother F560 sewing machine is, and that you've decided that it's the right machine for you. If so, head on over our website and grab yours now. Delivery is fast and it's free. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.